Okay. So remember how yesterday we looked at the ERIC questions and they were the 4-digit odd numbers? Yeah. And the worst part was if I said no repeated digits, you'd have to remember to bring the 0 back into the second spot, kind of thing, hold your spots. That's the problem with even. So with odd, your back numbers are 1, 3, 5, or 7, or 9, right? With even, what are your back numbers? 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, right? So if your back number, last number, is a 0, then I don't have to remember to put the 0 back, correct? But if my back number is 2, 4, 6, or 8, I have to remember to put the 0 back, don't I? So when it's repeating digits, not an issue, because 0, 2, 4, 6, 8 doesn't matter, right? Where your 0 is. The only problem where that comes into account is the no repeating digits. So let's look at this. How many even 4-digit numbers? So we have 4 blanks. What are our restrictions on this? If it says even, what does that mean? Yeah. What does 4-digit numbers tell you indirectly for a restriction? What about your first blank? Yeah. 1 to 9. Your first blank can't be 0. So indirectly, we're going to actually get the same number of 4-digit even numbers as 4-digit odd numbers because nothing has changed, right, when you can repeat. So here we'd have 0 to 9. Here we'd have 0 to 9, right? So here we have 5 options, 9 options, 10, and 10. So we have 4,500 just like we did yesterday with the odd 4-digit numbers. However, when we have no repeated digits, yesterday we had to remember to bring the 0 back here, right? But if our back number is 2, 4, 6, or 8, we have to bring the 0 back, right? But if our back number was 0, would we have to bring the 0 back? No. So how can we encompass that in one case? Because if this is a 0, this isn't a 0. If this isn't a 0, this is a 0. So we can't do that in one case. We have to do it in 2 cases. We have to do it in a case where it's not 0, like this, or means what? Add. Or a case where it is just 0, only 0. And then we don't bring the 0 back into the second blank, right? Because we've used it. Does that make sense? You can't incorporate them together because how would you show, like if this is a 0, this doesn't have a 0. If this isn't a 0, then it does have a 0. You can't, right? It would depend on what you're holding. So you have to show it into 2 cases. And this only happens with even, because with odd, there is no 0 in the back, and there is no 0 in the first one. So you always bring the 0 back, right? But with even, that's not the case. You have to do it in 2 pieces. So I still can only have the numbers 1 to 9 here. That doesn't change. I can still only have the numbers 1 to 9 here. But what do I have to remember to do because it says no repeating digits? Pick a number of each place because we have to hold a number there, right? So I'm going to hold the 2. So I have 4 options. I'm keeping a 2 there. Could I keep any of the other ones? Absolutely. So does the first blank actually have the numbers 1 to 9? It has the numbers 1 to 9, but not 2, because I held 2. So it actually has the numbers 1 and 3 to 9, right? How many is that? 8. I know which one I would pretend to hold here. The 1. Least amount of work for me. Then I have to remember to bring that 0 back, right? Because I didn't use it in the back because I didn't have a 0 option. I didn't use it in the very first blank because I can't. So I have to remember to bring it back. So 0 and then 3 to 9. which is still 8. And awesome. Okay. And then I'm going to hold the 0. And then I have 3 to 9, which is 7. And then I can pretend to hold the 9. It doesn't really matter. Okay? So that's case 1. And what do we do with those numbers? Multiply. Oh, good. Thanks. Good answer. Multiply them. Good job, guys. 8 times 8 times 7 times 4 is what? If only my brain could do that. Just standing here, but it ain't going to happen. So someone's going to help me. 8 times 8 times 7 times 4. Yeah, we agree? We disagree? Everyone should have their calculators out and everyone should be using them, because just because he can plug it into his calculator doesn't mean you can. So you need to practice yourself. Okay? 8 times 8 times 7 times 4. And also some people plug in wrong and then you can correct them. Okay. Our second case is where the back number is just 0. So we used up 0. It's used up. It can't come back in the second blank, right? It's gone. Then I have, so that's one option. Then I have 1 to 9 still, because I used up 0, which is 9. Then I'm going to keep 1, let's say. Does the 0 come back now? No. The 0 could come back here, though, right? That's why we had to do them in separate cases. We can't do them together. And it's only for even, non-repeating. Only even, non-repeating. We only do cases for even, non-repeating. If this was repeating, we'd be fine, right? Hold the 1. Now we have 2 to 9, which is 8. Hold the 2. Then we have 3 to 9, which is 7. What's 9 times 8 times 7 times 1? 504. Then what do we have to remember to do? Add them. And so we get 2,296. Right? Make sense? Difference to the cases? That's the hardest thing to grasp on this one, as to why there's actually 2 cases. Okay. Now we're going to look at words. So when they give you the word English, you have the word English. Pretend you have the word English on like cards. Okay, so how many E's do you have in the word English? 1. So do they have to say not repeating? Remember how I told you can tell that you repeat is by they don't say not repeating? But they'll never say English not repeating. It's the word English. You have to look at it and decide, is there more than one E? Is there more than one N? Is there more than one G? L-I-S-H. You have the word English on cards. You can produce no more cards. Those are all the cards you have, okay? So if it was like teal, spelt wrong, because teal normally wouldn't do it. We'll do teal spelt wrong, T-E-E-L. My daughter in grade 1 spelling teal. You would have 2 E's, correct? Okay. Then you'd have repetition of the E's. If you had teal spelled correctly, hopefully, by you, who are not in grade 1, then you'd have T-E-A-L, right? And you'd have no repetitions. So you have what you've been given. If you're given the word, that's what you have, okay? So consider the number of distinguishable. You don't need to pull out your dictionary and see if it exists. Most of these words will not exist, like Enly. You can even make words without vowels, okay? We are not specific. The English people would really hate this, actually. The word doesn't really have to exist in the English language. They just want distinguishable 4-letter arrangements. So it doesn't even have to be a word, to be honest. It just has to be 4 letters arranged in different orders, okay? So don't get stuck on, I don't think that's a word. It's probably not, okay? Most of them don't even have vowels. That's even weird. Okay. So we have to read thoroughly here. Consider the number of distinguishable 4-letter arrangements. So are we using the entire word English? No, we're just using 4 of the letters of it. Very important to read because sometimes we use the whole thing and sometimes we don't. Arrangements. Arrangements means order matters. So words are always permutations. If you ever read the word arrangement, that means we're arranging it. If we're arranging it, the order matters. If we weren't arranging it, we just throw it there and whatever it would be, it would be. The moment you arrange something, you're putting it in a specific order. So order matters, it's permutation. So arrangements that can be formed from the word English. When given a word, it is assumed you only have the letters contained in that word, the amount of times that they occur in that word. So determine the number of distinguishable 4-letter arrangements formed by English, where any letter can be in any position. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, what I always do is I rewrite the word out. If there's doubling letters, I would write them underneath. So for example, if the word was pool, I'd go P-O-O-L. There's a reason why you do that, okay? With English, if I rewrote it, I'd go E-N-G-L-I-S-H. If it still spells the same word, you have no repeating letters, okay? Your repetition matters. So what I do is I count how many letters I have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then I count them again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to make sure I'm not getting this question wrong because I counted 6 instead of 7. That is the worst thing that can happen. It happens all the time. Recount, make sure. Okay, so there's 7 letters. Are we using up all 7? No, we're using 4 of the 7. Now they want to know how many letter arrangements we can do. Is there any restrictions on this? Any letter in any place? Okay, so we can start at the very front. How many letter options do we have for here? Just like the car, remember the car? 7. How many letter options do we have for here? 6. Why not 7? Because you have to leave one here. If you say 7 and you say 7 here, you actually didn't leave a letter here. You're still starting over. You're like viciously trying to make words and you're never going to ever make one. It's like the status thing, okay? So 7, you leave a word letter here. So if you want, if you're like, oh, I suck at this, write E-N-G-L-I-S-H. And it's never repeating, right? We aren't repeating because those are all the letters we have. Circle one of them. So I have an E. I'm keeping there. Now I'd have N-G-L-I-S-H, which is actually 6. I'm going to keep the I just to make it different. N-G-L-S-H. So now I had 5. I'm going to keep the L for left because I'm awesome. N-G, not even a smirk or a smile. Nothing. Just silence on a Friday. 4. Yeah. Not. All right. Good times. So first and last must be vowels. How many vowels are in this bad boy? Don't miscount it, please. That's the worst. An E and an I, so there's 2. So this has to be a vowel. This has to be a vowel, right? If you want to, you can list your outcomes. So underneath, I could list an E and an I here. Maybe don't put that V. Could I have started with this one? Yeah, it doesn't matter. I don't know why I really like, I think it's reading. I like left to right. E and I, so I have 2 options. But what do? Choose one. I, so what's left for the back one? 1. Now, I've used up how many letters? The I and the E. How many do I have left? 5. Then 4. Do you have to list all the outcomes underneath? No. But once you start getting used to it, you might not need them. But at first, a lot of people like writing them. So that's 40. What was this? 840. Try these ones out. E. First letter must be an E. How many options? 1, then? Which is 120. Okay, the word must contain a G. So where could the G be? In the first blank? Or the second blank? Or the third blank? Or the fourth blank? So we actually have to, how many cases? 4. And I said or in between them, so I have to add them. You'll notice soon that if this is a G, there's one option then, 6, 5, 4, or this could be a G, or this could be a G, or this could be a G. What's going to happen? How could I write this easier? They're all the exact same numbers, right? So I could just go one case times 4. So it's 120 times 4, so it's 480. Okay, the rest of the questions in here are to try. They're in your Google Classroom if you haven't done anything with them. So here's all the questions to try, and then we start the next lesson. And then you're going to have some questions. So these ones you have to try, and then we'll do some questions on Monday from these two just to practice again. Okay? Like a little quiz at the beginning. Mainly it's just going to be practice, 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 because you get better at these by just doing. Okay? So those are your homework ones. At the very end, though, it has the answers so you can check them. Okay? Not the very end of the booklet, at the end of the little assignment, and then you get to factorial notation, which is the next one.